I am here to help you make the most out of bad situations. I was brutally harmed by two violent acts and should have died 2 times. I had to lose both of my eyes to see how to teach myself and others how to overcome the worst. Now, I'm sure you cannot wait to hear the doctor. And if anyone wants to get in touch with the doctor, here's a way to get in touch with them. Just email him at Mirabelle, Mirabelle dot Nozawa, Nozawa at gmail.com. Now, let's bring on the doctor. Be the change. Oh yeah, there he is, the man, the guy, the doctor.
Oh.
Hey, almost Happy New Year.
Yeah, that's right. And what a year this has been. Okay? I suppose excitement, but I don't think a lot of people will agree with me. But anyway, we've come to the end of it. Oh, just kind of some details for everyone there. And this is to you, Bob. Thank you for my show. And we're finishing up the second year. We're going to be starting our third next year. And but as my employer, I'm requesting a raise. So think about that when for this new year here. Ask Diane, but I think she's going to say no. But I asked anyway. But anyway, thank you for my show and being able to, with your help and Pyramid One of all the sweat you've put into this channel, to be able to reach 132 countries. And to educate, inspire, and empower, people, and it's what I always wanted to do. And I thank you for that, Bob. And just the best for Pyramid One. And just to get started here, you've got a new project in the works here called the Hope Channel at minister.com. And what that means is exactly what it is a place for hope, a place where people can come and express and to talk and to share, what's going on, what's not going right, what's going right. And, Bob, you stepped into your, I think, this advanced stage of yours because so everyone knows, you are a reverend, a pastor. So, I believe this is another open door for you where you can help more and more people. So, anything, we can do to help and encourage. And on the show today is Patrick Herbert, who is, I met on this show, Be the Change. And now he is a co-host to our YouTube show, New Enlightened Lifestyle Medicine. Starting its second season, so I'm happy to have Patrick aboard here, and I think he's got some great things to bring up, and I don't know. I wish we had 3 to 4 hours for this show here, but that's okay. We'll squeeze in everything, in this our last show of 2020. So, Patrick, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Good to be here. Good to be back. Always happy to see both you gentlemen. Of course, Dr. Randall, I see you and talk to you every day.
But my two my favorite people, along with my wife and such, and when our cats and dogs, of course. But Patrick, there's an eventful year that has almost ended, and I think one of, as far as humanity goes, a retreat from courage, a belief in falsity. And right now, a wondering of hopelessness and helplessness. And it's a weird place to be. And though more truth has been coming out, and a lot of truth, meaning the, this PCR test that everyone's been taking, that is the wrong test and interpreted in the wrong way. And only the very, very wealthy making money and everyone else going broke. And now these weird habits, these weird, it's almost like, just illegal requests, wear mask, distance, gather in small groups, close your schools. Okay, well, actually constitutionally illegal, but we follow them anyway. Patrick, what's going on? And I just seem just very optimistic for the new year. But what do people have to know, and what must they do?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, well, let's begin with the bigger picture. I'm sure all of us have heard of the New World Order, and
long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, so it's and for those who haven't, it is the centralization of government, the centralization of currency, the centralization of goods and services, a kind of totalitarian one world government where the elite are above us, ruling over us with their minions of government. And we're not too far removed from that system as it is right now. We're just talking more of a centralization into the powers that be here and the powers that be in Britain and so on. So yeah, eventually that is the world that the big families have envisioned for us. And I'm talking about the international bankers, the most famous of them being the Rothschilds, the Rockefeller Group, and all of those involved. And those go down into you hear about George Soros very frequently, and Klaus Schwab, of course, for the Great Reset, and for the World Economic Forum. And we heard with under President Trump a lot of talk about globalists and globalism, and for the most part, a lot of people had no idea who or what they were. And now it's gone mainstream, and this is something that's fascinating, and I'm sure it's fascinating for you, Bob, researching this stuff for years, only for it to.
I've been doing that for, let me see, 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've been going into all the families in the background and where the money is and the banks and their plans. Their plans, by the way, that's going on right now was in the works 12, 13, I bet almost 14, I guess about 14 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
When they had the plan even before that, but they never really put anything in motion until what really threw the broomstick into the bicycle wheel at 60 miles an hour was Trump.
Yeah, it was. It was, and I in our New Enlightened Lifestyle Medicine show, Dr. Randall and I were talking about this the other day, and I was thinking two of the biggest things that came out under Trump were things that he had put into motion, words and phrases, terms, labels. We've known for years that the media is propaganda. I mean, anybody who knows about, the CIA and Mockingbird Media and all of that knows what Fox, CNN, NBC, all of them, what they all are. And they all are propaganda on one level or another, invoking or bringing into play the, divide and rule, where you've got the Republicans fighting against the Democrats fighting against the Republicans, and so on. And, I always used to say to people that you could give them whatever label you want. At the end of the day, it's one central government. It's one, you can go down two different hallways to the same meat grinder. That's essentially what it is. Mm-hmm. So, he had said about the fake news, he gave it a label. Finally, and people had, of course, it became a partisan thing, which is unfortunate, but such is the way of politics. It is, and it's, you could see how divide and rule works beautifully for these people that want to keep us fighting with each other. Works so easily, and we all can get wrapped up into it. It's hard to stay partisan, it's hard to stay independent. A lot, and that's just an example of how proficient the propaganda machine in this country is. Now, we're not unique. Every country that has a government, it pretty much functions the same. You can call it a capitalist society, or you could call it a socialist. It doesn't matter. Each one of these countries has an elite. They have a group of billionaires that sit at the top and basically control all of the politicians. And they do so in very dark and demented ways, which we have now all learned about, or some, for those of us studying this, we've known about Epstein and what he's all about, but now he's now out a name out in the public, and what things like his island was all about is essentially a blackmail operation.
As you're saying that, and the person that you're talking about, and the things that you're talking about, You want to talk about governments. Now, they're going to start teaching kids their gender. They're going to give gender education starting at 5 years old. Now, that is what you just said of the other, the other places that are out there. But if you do it in some of those countries, they'll kill you.
Oh, certainly. I mean, yeah, there's still countries that are, they have their, I just they have their extreme ways. Each country is different, of course, but at the end of the day, I think for the most part, in terms of the relationship between the governments there and the rich or the elite, I think there's a lot of similarities in terms of how the elite dictate law and all of that through it's filtered through their various different cultures, and we have our own unique American culture versus Saudi Arabia. Where if they take you out to, what is it called, Dora Dora, or I think it was called I can't remember if it was Dora Dora or chop to chop off your they chop off some part of your body if you break one of their extreme laws.
Yeah, you have a higher voice, and
But also remember that and one of some of the most famous Saudi princes that have been I can't pronounce their names, so I won't even try to. But they they're all billionaires, and they have their own unique elite that that remember they were all arrested by the prince, and they were all kept in the Ritz-Carlton recently, and for whatever level of extortion was happening there. Very fascinating times. But
another thing that our own society and that is bringing up, and you're going in that direction, is the fact that we or the newest part of our society that's coming out with this new movement that's going on is a complete how would you say it? They don't care about our history.
Yeah,
now, I'm trying to put this as easy as I can, because trust me, I can get really nasty. But the thing is, why would you have to? I think it's 500 and some odd schools, but it may be more. They're going to, any school that's got the name Washington on it, it's going to be changed. Jefferson, it's going to be changed. All the founding fathers that had anything to do with slavery or anything else, and that any one of the founders actually are going to be removed. They're going to be streets are going to be renamed. Schools.
Oh yeah, well, that's how you control history, is by erasing it, and then you create your own. That's one of the
taken down.
Yeah,
Washington, Lincoln is sitting there. They're daring people that one of these days he's going to be bombed. That's
I've learned a lot about tactics such as this from Henry Kissinger.
You know what? He wasn't that far out on a limb either.
Well, it's a purpose. It's obvious. Okay, so what has to happen ultimately, without becoming too winded about it? Because I know there's so like an octopus. There's so many tentacles, and there's so many rabbit holes, and you could get lost on any one of them, especially when talking about them. But let's just say the basic thing that's happening around in terms of the big picture is these governments like ours and these ideals that we were founded upon, and they are only ideals now because the law has been changed. You don't have the freedom that you think you do. We were, per Thomas Jefferson, supposed to be the sovereigns here and the government underneath us, but now we are all citizens. We are all citizen subjects of the government, which is now our sovereign. It's been reversed from what the founding principles. Anyways, we still have been taught, and we all believe in liberty and freedom, but that can no longer be. You can't have and I'll just say it, a totalitarian, tyrannical one world order where people have such concepts such as freedom in their history. No, you have to eradicate that. So, and all these small movements, they're all a part of something larger. This is all very orchestrated. Ever watch the protests and notice how they all come out the door with the same prefabricated signs, with the same sayings that are echoed by the mainstream media, and they're professionally printed, and all these people come out with them because they literally bring U-Hauls and deliver this out to the people. It's a paid for thing. And it's all, at the end of the day, it's all essentially propaganda. So what they have to do is they have to literally internally collapse these countries, Western countries like the United States and Britain they're destroying them intentionally right now, and they're using things like COVID and to justify these things.
Right. It's an
so it's the excuse. It's typical, it's problem, reaction, solution. But right now we're looking at a huge leap. And I a while back, when Dr. Randall and I first started writing and talking about COVID, I said I knew absolutely that this was going to be a move by what I call the cabal and those behind the scenes, and then man, it's just watching it unfold and so quickly. And I think because I really firmly believe, especially considering my experiences, that there is an awakening going on, and that there's almost like, an equal and opposite pushback against that, which is happening as well. So you're seeing things accelerate quite substantially within the past, 4 years, especially considering Trump was a huge boom. No matter what you think about him, no matter who he is, no matter what he is, it was not what they expected that was going to happen. And, we can look back at what's happened the past 4 years and we could see how the elite reacted. With the incessant nonstop attacks, the racism, the divide and rule. Remember in the beginning for like 2 years, we would have nonstop rallies of this group versus those guys, and they would constantly meet in the streets and fight. They were instigating chaos. And then they come, we have a series of events that happened where you have, and I'm going to bring this up right now, in terms of Carrie Mullis, who I believe was fully killed before the event 201 and the pandemic exercise. They always perform an exercise before they unleash this on the public, but this was all another part of it too. And then what was the first thing they did when all of this happened? And I'll go back to Carrie Mullis in a second. When the outbreak started to happen, it was right out the gate, blame Trump. Like as if Donald Trump, like I say, no matter what you think, you can hate the guy all you want, but the guy isn't single-handedly responsible for whatever machinations are going, or machinations are going on in, coming from China or whatnot, and these plans and these all of the stuff that is happening. But that's what they did. So there was a continual effort to sabotage him, his chances for re-election, using the pandemic as a cover for all of these things, plus more, as you briefly mentioned, Bob, with regards to the the one world government coming in. So it's yeah, I mean he was a blip in the machine. He was a problem. He was, like you said, he was a rod in a wheel. Yeah. It was completely unanticipated. So
stopped just like that. Boom. Stopped them. Just stopped them dead. They couldn't do anything.
And so yeah, they had to. And what I told my dad once, I was like, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I said, this is a modern day assassination, because imagine a Kennedy-like assassination and everybody on, the hill, the grassy knoll, or anywhere else that was collected there. Each and every single one of these people would have a cell phone out, 1080p HD video, filming everything from every angle. Am I right?
Yes.
So you can't easily, and with today's and forensics and all of this, it would be a lot harder to publicly execute or do anything like that. So what's the other way? And also, he's also a billionaire. And whatever you say about Trump, you're in that class of people. You have a different world. That's a totally different world. And you've also bumped elbows and rubbed elbows with the mob, the mafia, this, that. You're a little bit street smart. Everybody's coming after your money, literally. So he had that, he wasn't somebody that they could just easy knock out of the way. So they had to try to destroy him another way. And I think that's why they had aggressively pursued basically everything that happened the past 4 years.
Let me guess what you're saying, though. When they wanted to destroy him, all right, they didn't want it to look like they were trying to destroy him. Mm. They made it so that they, through the media, made the people in America believe he was guilty of something. Mm-hmm. It wasn't, they didn't want to look like the bad guys. They wanted to look like the good guys, showing the bad guy to everybody else in America. Yeah. So that everyone in America would be brainwashed by the media to hate somebody.
Well, that's what they do. And that's the thing. There's no exception to the case. The media is used to brainwash the people. So what you are saying by that measure alone, it's undeniable. Be it whoever they're brainwashing in whatever way they're brainwashing, they are there to brainwash. And that includes...
Isn't it funny, though, right after the whole thing went out and Senate threw it out, all of a sudden all the news comes out. Oh, that wasn't correct. Oh, somebody was lying. Oh, Clinton spent the money for the file.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and it goes on and on and on and on and on. But if somebody actually had impeached him, you never would have seen the truth ever come out.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's been a remarkable 4 years. That's for sure. And
but now they're trying to cover their ass by saying, "Hey, listen, it was this, it was that, it was the other." That's rich people. You know what I mean? It's what do they call it? Something denial. I forget what they call. Oh God, it's on the tip of my tongue and I can't spit it out. It's something denial, they call it. It's just like saying, make up a story.
Mm-hmm. I can see what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean. I don't know what the words are for it, and some like Rush song popped in my head, but where he says plausible deniability.
That's it.
Is it? Oh, is it? All right.
You got it.
That's it.
That's it. You got it. Plausible. Yeah, denial. I mean, it's like denial.
That was from Test for Echo. Plausible deniability. Yeah.
Yes, that's it. Nailed it.
Well, thank you, Neil Peart.
Yeah, but that is what's going on, and there are so many people in this country that can't look. I mean, let's face it. How many times? And Doc, I'm going to ask you this question: how many times did I tell people to look at themselves in the mirror and say, "I love you"?
Yep. Well, you told me that when we first met, and I passed on that information to a lot of folks, and people can't, they think it's kind of one of these woo-woo type of things, but a lot of folks can't do that. And there's a lot to that because their psychology has been co-opted. It's been brainwashed for all these generations of what we see on TV and what we think people say and what we think the media says. And that becomes our identity that we pass on to other generations. So yeah, like that simple I call it a strategy that you taught to me. I give out to a lot of other folks, of course, giving you credit for it, right? To those people that I talk to here locally or internationally who want professional and personal development, and they go, "What the hell is that?" And I said, "Try it."
My point.
You won't believe how effective it is. So anyway, thanks to you.
My point is, if they could do that, what I told everybody to do, then they can also, when they're looking at the news, look past it. They don't take it for what they're saying.
Believe the opposite.
Well, no, I'm not saying believe. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, and I've said it to. I mean, I'm on. There's blogs that come into me every morning too. I'm on them, and I tell people, do your homework. Don't believe everything you see. Look into it. There is a site somewhere for everything. You name it, it's there. All you have to do is know the correct question. And most of the questions that you could ask is just like you and I are speaking right now. Yeah. Speak in regular, average language and just say, what is this? And you'll get 100 different ways.
Oh, yeah,
But compare that to the news you just saw.
Aren't you that uncle that CNN was warning me about, the conspiracy theorist uncle?
Probably.
The one that CNN wrote that article about and said, if your uncle talks about doing personal research, it was a ridiculous article that CNN had the other day.
Okay.
They were trying to make conspiracy theorists look like they literally said in the article, it said that people who do their own research, that should really be suspicious. Like, oh my God.
Well, look at it the other way. Newsmax last week, they were saying about different things that they were saying about Trump and all the things that with the voting machines and Dominion and everything else. Okay, so they put on, and it was in a morning show, and I almost fell on the ground. I mean, I was freaking. The thing that they did was they took about 30, pictures of different, people doing the news all over the country. So it kind of looked like Zoom, but it wasn't. It's just they put it in that kind of a
Oh
form.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they had all 30 of them saying the same report
thing.
at the same time.
That was the Sinclair.
Oh, okay, so who programmed who? And they did it like 2 or 3 times with a bunch of different, reports. In fact, one of them that they were working on at the time. And all these people were saying
exactly. Yeah, they read from the script.
All them, yeah, but they call themselves journalists. Journalists to what? I mean, if you got to read a teleprompter and you got to do the same thing over and over every single morning, I think I'd go out and jump off a bridge. I swear to God, that would drive me crazy.
I have actually a friend of mine who works for the local Houston news station, and he's the morning anchor, and he has to get up at like 2 o'clock or 3 in the morning to get there, sit, and then they get in the studio around from 5 and 5 until 10. Yeah, it's some dreary hours, but I get a good insider view of how those places operate.
Yeah, they tell you this is what you're going to say.
Yeah.
If you don't say it, you'll be doing the dog report. Or raccoon in your case. It's one. It's like, hey, listen. But this is news is not news anymore. Newsmax happens to be the only one that I've ever seen that actually literally, when they say something, they can prove it. They'll put it right on the screen. If it's something that's done by the Congress or something that somebody said or something, they'll put up the clip. They put up clips that none of the news put up. I don't know where they get them from. Who knows? But they come from, the headquarters is in Long Island. So, I mean, I come from the New York area. We're snakes. so hey, that's just goes with the turf,
So but how long until Newsmax is compromised? And I've observed as the money people swoop in and then they slowly change the narrative.
I'll tell you when that's going to happen too, because somebody actually told me that the other day. If you notice and you go on Newsmax, you won't see drug companies or anything. You won't see that, and you'll very, very rarely, or very, very minuscule times, see car ads, big like GM, Ford, and all these things. The big companies that pour all the money into the CNN, the NBC, the CBS, you don't see at Newsmax. You don't see them because they won't touch Newsmax or anything because it's against what the major companies that are doing. So if they were to touch them, then that would be, they'd have to throw all this stuff at Newsmax, and then all the other companies would lose billions. So they're not going to do that. The other ones are going to keep on doing what the drug companies come and they say to them, look, if you say this, we're not going to advertise on your channel. Bingo. All the channels are compromised right there. Yeah. Now, with Newsmax, even if they did have somebody come and say, hey, listen, I'm going to give you a couple $1 billion to do this, I really don't think they'll do it. The guy's from New York. He's a guy that I did some research on him too. That the guy that actually started Newsmax years ago. I didn't know it was that old. But I mean, this guy was a kind of guy that said, the public needs to know what the public wants to know. Period. And that's exactly what he does every day on the news. There's no BS. It's all pure fact. And it's almost minute to minute because every once in a while when you're watching it, you'll see a little blurb come up or something about something that's going on. And if you go, here's the other thing. If you go on YouTube, you can catch the blurb that came out on TV or something, and you can go and see it somewhere else. You don't see Newsmax on any of the regular channels.
I never even heard about it until mostly recently. But I don't even watch TV. I mostly observe or read from alternative media, and I'll read like the mainstream media too because I'm just curious to see what's going on in the mainstream. And then of course then the alternative news and just kind of, and then I go to foreign too, which is useful because you get a perspective on how they're viewing events. And
we've got the studio in Australia, so I got the links to all their news channels down there. I'm serious. If you listen to the Newsmax and them are very close together.
Oh, really?
They don't care they're not in America, so they will tell the truth.
It's always fascinating to get the foreign perspective on also what's going on in America and also what's going on in those countries.
BBC does the same thing.
It's
crazy, so that's all right.
But yeah, for the most part, it's always been I've really just stuck lately with alternative media, and that's when I had noticed a lot of alternative media sites changing quite substantially, especially with regards to COVID. And I read so much of these news sites that I could start to identify the similar phrasing, wording, the way they actually title things, the way that their techniques and this, so that I could identify which sites are pushing out information to other sites. I've noticed a lot of and I had to look into this because a lot of CNN material was beginning to pop up all over Drudge Report, and we all know that Drudge Report had gotten compromised quite significantly. And come to find out that it was CNN, the last I had heard, that had put 50 million or purchased or bought or did something with regards to $50 million. I had not pursued it beyond this being one of the other explanations for they were compromised in some way, but it did happen. And then another site that I follow a lot is Zero Hedge, and Zero Hedge tone and their articles started to change a little bit over the past 2 years, especially with COVID. A lot of COVID related propaganda began to run there as well. And so it's just it's remarkable and it's incredible. And for the most part, something that might be either insignificant if it were real on one level, is, no matter what, real in the minds of millions of people because of propaganda. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter, almost in a sense, what you believe. It's the fact that these people out here are brainwashed to such a degree that they think that their neighbor and his breathing will kill them, or is an existential threat to their health. And I saw a funny commercial the other day, or not a funny commercial, a funny cartoon somebody sent me, and it was a woman, and she was obese, and she was in an electric vehicle, and she was holding a giant McDonald's bag and drinking from a McDonald's cup, and had a face mask on, and she's screaming at this woman who doesn't have a face mask on, saying, "You are a danger to my health," right? Whilst obese, yeah. And it was a very, that cartoon made an impact on me. I was like, just how and it was a really good metaphor for how just messed up people have become by not asking questions and allowing the mainstream media to program them on a subconscious level and everything that they believe. Literally. It's a rare thing these days that you get someone who asks any questions. They believe that the mainstream press is the gospel.
I see that. I see those people in those chairs every day, and I'm serious. That when you just said that just, wow, the lights went up in the head. It was like bing.
Uh-huh.
Oh man, I'm telling you, I see them every single day. And you also see, they keep on saying about the thing in that with the mask. Okay, it's okay to have a mask on, but it's not okay and to sneeze and then stick your hand under the mask to rub your nose, right? Uh-huh. And then touch the carriage, okay? And then the carriage goes somewhere and somebody else has to touch that carriage. What are you complaining about a mask for? I swear to God, I said to a guy in the store, and the store is good. The store really, really is. And I know the manager over there. And these are huge. Publix is like the store, in Florida. They're huge. And I said to the guy, I says, you know what? I says, I would never in a million years ever blame you if somebody came up and said that you weren't doing your job or anything else, because I know you are, and I know you're doing it from your heart. But I said, for crying out loud, see that guy over there with touching his nose? Throw him out. And we were laughing, but it's true. This happens. How about wait, before you start? How about the guy that does the same thing and then goes and he's looking for something on a shelf? So he touches this box, and touches this box, and he puts it back, and this one, and puts it back. Okay, so now you go after him, not seeing him, obviously, because I'd never touched the dang side of the store, for crying out loud. But you go back and you're going to touch the same box too. You could have all the masks. You could have a mask. You could have a pail over your head. You could have a plastic bag over your head. That's not going to help you because your hands are what you touch your body with. So what do they expect? And then they blame it on herd. Yeah, this herd thing. They're gonna cure people. In a herd because of this vaccine and all this kind of stuff.
Oh, 90% herd immunity.
Herd immunity. Yeah, and then to top it all off, and there you got 47% of the people that live here in America that say, I ain't taking no shot. Did any of you guys ever read what's in a shot? When we're not on this show, I will send you a copy. All right.
Oh, we know. I especially had talking to Dr. Randall like every day. I know very well. I can almost repeat it and in his voice.
Yeah.
What is in a vaccine?
I'm serious. I mean, when I saw all the stuff that was in there, it was unbelievable. As a matter of fact, I'm bringing somebody on one of my shows, and that's I can't say everything all the way until she's there, but she's got something to do with some of the inner information that happened in some of the labs and stuff. And that she said, "Oh yeah, I'll go on the show." I said, "You sure?" I mean, I don't care. No, if anybody shows up at my front door,
blur her picture and change her voice.
Exactly. Yeah. I'll have her talking like me. But things like this now are going on all the time. And if 47% of the population don't want the shot, they've got a reason why. And I'm sure it wasn't the population or the news or the media or the social media that made them take this attitude. Somebody literally looked behind the curtain.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody went to see what the hell is in this stuff. And some of them, like, for instance, say you got an allergy to something. That could cause a reaction if you took the vaccine. There's people with these allergy pens, they go, when you go and you're at this place that you're getting the vaccine, they're there with the pins. Just in case you happen to land on
Yeah. That's right. I've seen, and I know some people here who are nurses, and they're refusing. They're going to get a doctor that they know, which means the doctors are in on this whole refusing thing, and they said they're just going to have a doctor write them out something that said that they got it. But I wanted to point something out about masks that I had read somewhere, and I think it was probably from Gareth Ike, and it was he's on Parler, and he had said something the other day, and I was like, holy crap, it's so true. He's like, okay, so they say, where's the flu? Flu's gone, right? Well, that's because we're all wearing masks and we're all social distancing. Therefore, the flu hasn't been able to transmit. Okay, well, why is COVID on the rise? Well, because we're not wearing masks and we're not social distancing. Like you see how
doesn't make any sense, does it?
I think they do that purposefully too. I mean, I honestly do. That's that's just like mind control 101. I mean, things like cognitive dissonance. Introducing two truths that causes confusion because you're like, well, wait a minute. You can't sit on the balance beam. You're getting rocked.
To everybody out there that's listening, this is one for you. Remember this number, 0.05%.
Okay.
That's reported flu cases.
0.05%.
Okay. Now go look at start 2018 even. Way higher than that. Way higher than that. I mean, people dying. Look, there were guys. I looked back to, I think it was 2016. No, I went back to people that were dying from flu that had lung problems, heart problems, any kind of an organ problem or anything like that, cancer, that were on chemo and things. All these people died because they got the flu. Because it was like a major hit of like anything that's got to do with your body. It just puts you in a tailspin. Or strokes was another one. All these people because of flu. But, you never hear that something similar to what's going on right now happened before. And it happened every year. And did everybody want to have masks? No. Did everybody 6 feet away from each other? No. Did everybody get together for Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner? Yes. Did anybody travel to the United States? Yes.
But you rename the flu to something far more scary, and then you, in sync with each other, you initiate a massive propaganda effort including showing people catching this new flu. We'll call it COVID, or right, falling dead in the streets after they catch it, which was the stuff we saw from China, right?
Yeah.
And then you create this in the minds of people. This pandemic has been manufactured. There's nothing out of the ordinary going on, except that they manufactured this entire narrative, and now everybody believes it. Everybody's been paid off. Hospitals, they get a patient. A patient comes in with pneumonia. They get paid a certain amount. I can't remember.
Yeah,
how much was it? 13,000.
13,000.
Yeah,
1,500 a day.
to call that COVID pneumonia.
Yes.
Right? So
plus 5, yeah.
And I'm a business. I'm a hospital. You know what I'm going to say to all my staff? I'm going to say, look, guys, we need the extra money, okay? I need to get a new house. I want to get a new Ferrari, whatever. I need the extra money. So do me a favor and make all these pneumonia cases COVID pneumonia. And if they kind of maybe slightly look like they need to be on a ventilator, i.e. if their oxygen level drops below from 98% to 97.5, put them on a ventilator. And I'll get $39,000.
Right. Here's one from yesterday. 2 guys robbed someplace. One guy was shot. One guy was injured.
COVID.
Did you? The guy who was really shot. He went to the hospital and he died there. They had to take a test of this guy. Yeah. Now, a dead guy. He's dead, but they had to test this guy for COVID-19 and his partner that was there, and they ruled that what had happened could have been
COVID killed him.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like, wait a minute. The guy's shot. He's died. He's dead. For crying out loud.
They test him, and you know what test they use? I mean, what were the latest statistics on the PCR test? Granted, if there's ever been a properly genetically sequenced real thing called SARS-CoV-2, which 50 Freedom of Information Acts that have gone out requesting this information all have come back. It's never been isolated and purified, by the way, and you can find this out through John Rappaport's blog, and he has all of his sources and all the links to the woman who's been undertaking this effort. And for the most part, that sequencing happens in a computer anyways. So you've got the PCR test, and this kind of ties back into what I was talking about, Kary Mullis, who died. He was the inventor of PCR. He's the inventor of a DNA manufacturing technique called PCR, and which is polymerase chain reaction. And he was the first person to say that this is not a test for diagnosing anything. And he was also the first person to say, and you could look up this video. I don't know if you've seen it, Bob. Look up Kary Mullis on Anthony Fauci. I think this was filmed in probably around the 90s, but this is the same Anthony Fauci that's been around for 50 something years. This is the AIDS czar, Anthony Fauci. He says,
that guy. Okay.
Yeah. He says, Kary Mullis says that Anthony Fauci, what did he say? He doesn't know. In that video, he says literally, he doesn't know squat. He says he has an agenda. And it just so happens that Kary Mullis, the inventor of PCR, who would have been the first person to say this is all a fraud, died. When did he die? August 7th, 2019, of what? Pneumonia, right? It's 2 months later in October that Bill Gates hosts with Johns Hopkins University Event 201, simulating a pandemic an exercise about a pandemic. And I'm sure you've heard of Event 201, Bob, have you?
Yep.
Yeah. So you got this guy who would have talked about it, who was already he seems like he was a very intelligent guy. He knew what was going on, and they got rid of him very conveniently before this happened. I don't know, maybe they strategically waited until he died, but I doubt it. I bet you he was killed off. And they, as we know, in terms of death certificate manipulation, there's no oversight when you do a death certificate. Anybody can be paid off to put anything on a death certificate. Granted, like someone wasn't decapitated, and they said, "Oh, he died of a heart attack."
Right, he lost his head.
So it's just, and then you've got the antibody test, which will detect anything. So these are the tests they run on these corpses all of us. I think the last study that was released regarding PCR, it had a 97% false positive rate.
Right.
And the WHO had actually, following this study, they had changed their guidance for PCR testing, talking in specific, in particular, they were talking about the cycle threshold, which if during the testing, if you have a high cycle threshold, it could find anything and amplify it that many times. And high cycle thresholds will create false positives. It's not a light goes on and goes, oh, this person has this particular virus. No, it's a metric that they read, and different labs can interpret those metrics differently. But it's based on the cycles that it needs to amplify the viral sample that it finds. That's how they determine viral load. Anyways, all the labs in the United States of America, when this outbreak happened, per the FDA emergency release for these tests, which, by the way, there are records in the World Trade Organization with tariffs going to, in 2018, related to PCR tests being shipped en masse out to various countries. So this was planned, as is evident by Event 201. Anyway, so the tests are all out there, and they ship them all. And recently, all this has been coming up with the PCR test and how it's essentially been fraudulent. And so the WHO says low CT values are recommended in order to actually identify a real sickness, a real viral load. And like I said, the FDA manufacturer's emergency request and those tests that were released, all of them had a CT value, cycle threshold value, or all but about 3 or 4. Dr. Randall and I went over the list the other day. And there are like 15 of them. They all had 35 and above, which for even Anthony Fauci said anything that is 35 and above cycle threshold should be tossed out. And I even have a quote from him somewhere around here. So anyways, when they came out the door with this thing with the cycle threshold of 40, 45, 47, some cases 49, it was false positives nonstop. And then you also had, and so you got these radical case numbers. And then you also had the whole lie about asymptomatic people, which has recently been debunked. If you're not sick, you're not contagious. It's the most, but they claim that the asymptomatic people, the people who aren't sick with anything, are spreading it everywhere. But that's recently been debunked. I'm sorry, I might have gone off track a little bit. You might need to reel me back in here, but just remarkable when it comes to this. And since this is specifically the PCR test, like I said, they had to get Kerry Mullis out of the way before they could pull this off. He was a Nobel laureate. He had won, awards for PCR. So it's, he was a very important figure in all of it, and he would have been the first to speak out because he was not in the Anthony Fauci camp. He was actually against Anthony Fauci. He really didn't have any respect for Anthony Fauci. He thought it was all fraudulent, everything that modern day science is doing. And this is back in the 90s. So, and if you look up what was going on with AIDS and HIV back in the day, we're talking the same song and dance. And I'm not saying that people didn't die of an autoimmune deficiency disorder. It's more that, was it really caused by a virus? Just the same thing. If you were to replace HIV with SARS-CoV-2 and AIDS with COVID, as in the disease that you can get from a virus, you get the same game plan being run on us that was being run back then. Now people die. They die of, tons of things. People are diabetes. You got the electromagnetic poisoning going on. You've got 5G. You've got us being bombarded. You've got cancer rates, which could be related to, in a book I read recently, The Invisible Rainbow. You've got, cancer and diabetes was virtually unheard of until electricity came on the scene. And but of course, these all end up becoming big business. You've got glyphosate everywhere, right? That's big not pharmaceutical. That's big, agriculture. And they make tons of money. So what do? They control the studies. Same thing with the cell phone companies. They test the phone by holding it up to a plastic head and then declare it's safe. But our heads aren't made of plastic, obviously. So you've got all these things that are causing all these conditions on humanity that will never be blamed. But they can create these fairy tales like, oh my God, there's these invisible pathogens floating through the air that will give you the world's most horrendous disease, and therefore we have to take away all your rights and all your freedoms. I mean, it's really it's incredible. This mind manipulation matrix that has been overlaid on humanity, and sorry to go off on so many different tangents with regards to it. It's just incredible how easy it is to, back to what you were saying, to re-diagnose something such as the flu or such as something as pneumonia, to give it another label and scare everybody using that label. And then that's all you have to do, literally. That's it. Then you put out a fake test to test for viral particles, which we all have. We all have viruses in us. We all have bacteria in us.
Oh, we walk around with it.
Yeah. We all have. It's going to be found. And it's like the PCR test works by finding different viral particles and then making assumptions on that, filling in the gaps. So you've got a hoof, an ear, and a tail, and you're going to call it a donkey using the PCR test, right? All you need to, but it's not going to be a donkey. It's just like you see a bunch of windows, and my friend Steve did this metaphor the other day. Like there's a bunch of windows, you see a bunch of windows, but that doesn't make it a house. It could be a building. It could be a barn. It could be just because it has windows doesn't make it, and same kind of thing. Excuse me. So it's and yeah, it's just but they've been manipulating us by relabeling and redefining things for years. You can go back to the Civil War with regards to our legal system and the Constitution. Little word changes here, little word changes there, redefining something there. You're seeing the very slow eradication of our rights with the international bankers and financiers involved behind the scenes, because they're the one pushing the change. That's their world. We just live in it. You want to live on some land, it's owned by the banks. You want to live somewhere else, it's owned by the banks. The banks came in for everything. There's no sovereignty like we were told and we were raised to believe in all these sovereign things, which come to find out as we become adults and go through all this, we find out are patently false. Like, what do you want me to sing the Star Spangled Banner while social distancing and wearing a face mask? Are you kidding? You know what I mean? Like, there's some sort of disconnect that's happening where people are believing in a certain set of, in a different reality than the one that's existing right now. And that can only be because of propaganda. So it kind of goes back around to what we were saying. The ideals that America was founded on, since the Civil War especially, are no longer applicable. They're not in process. They're not in play anymore. The Constitution that you know it, you're not governed by the Constitution. That's all word games that they play. You, per the 14th Amendment, are a citizen, and you are therefore, since the invention of that citizen, you are responsible for a huge laundry list of things, including millions and millions and millions of laws, and it's admiralty law. It has nothing to do with common law or anything that the Constitution was founded on. You are even suspected of breaking any one of their millions of laws. They arrest you instantly. They grab you. They detain you. You don't see a courtroom instantly. You're not. That's admiralty law for you. That's because on the international international vessels back then, when they would do commerce between the nations, if a guy on the ship was acting out, they didn't have a trial by jury. They couldn't. They had to take the ship and they had to get to the other port. So they had to arrest him, lock him up, and then they'll take care of that business later. And that's what we are under right now, at least especially from 1868 onward, since with little changes in the Constitution having been done in 1868, and then things like the Act of 1871, which was rescinded, but then it was re-implemented. They had in different ways.
You touched one thing about the 5G. And we have satellites now that are going to be circling the entire world, and they are going to transmit.
Oh yeah,
G.
Tens of thousands.
Yes. So all these little machines. Well, we're all kinds of going crazy net about stimulus checks.
Oh boy,
the difference between getting $600 or $2,000. Now, when you touched on the 5G, I'm thinking to myself, okay, there's a bill with all kinds of garbage in it. Right? They're holding back. They say, for us to give you stimulus, I have to say, hold it right there. I paid you those taxes. You're just giving me a loan. Right? They make interest on my tax money 4, 5, 6, 7 times over a year on my money that I give them in my taxes. So I'm not asking you to bestow on me, this great thing that you're going to do and give me something. You're not giving me anything. You're just giving it back. That's about it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
okay.
No, it's and that and going back, it's a joke inside of a joke, because we could have a separate show about the Federal Reserve System, and I've probably
we can do that.
Yeah, and you and I, Bob, I know, and Dr. Randall too. Now he hears me, and he's been researching about things like the Trilateral Commission, which is independent from the Federal Reserve, of course, but not since they're all intertwined.
Yes.
But in terms of like him going down these rabbit holes, I've been feeding him, bringing him into a lot of knowledge with relation to those, the International Bankers, Federal Reserve. I was just thinking I got to get him The Creature from Jekyll Island, which is just an outstanding book about the Federal Reserve. But we're talking about this paper money system where a fiat currency, paper money not worth anything. It's actually it's a bill to represent debt. So you got a debt on top of a debt situation going on. You can't. It's a circular thing, because you can't pay debt with debt. So you've got and of course the paper notes are essentially themselves valueless unless you want to draw on them, or maybe you could sew them all together, make a
they just print them up. That's all.
Yeah, and it's just printed for pennies on the dollar to print which you print. It cost them, I can't remember what it was. It cost them like certain amount of, it's like less than $1 for them to print a sheet of $100 bills, but the bank gets the full value of each one of those $100 bills, even though it cost them pennies to print it. Exactly. And that is how absurd this financial system is. And our government, it's always going to be he who has the gold rules. And the Federal Reserve has. And our government is, of course, in debt, borrows from the Federal Reserve forever. And it's a debt that you control through debt. Debt is enslavement. And that is applicable from these large institutions. That's the whole point. These banks and stuff, right down to our mortgages, our loans, or our cars. You are enslaved versus a penalty to pay that.
When I was a kid, all right,
mm-hmm.
the saying was, "He who owns the baseball makes the rules."
Yeah.
Right? No baseball game.
Yeah.
There it is.
He who has the gold rules, and these guys are sitting on. It's just like in 1933. All American citizens had to turn in their gold. The country has been hijacked and has been being hijacked from underneath our noses, while the propaganda machines has us pointed to. And this is not to say anything bad about patriotism per se, but it is a tool and we all do tend to love our countries, but then we are saluting and standing and we are bowing to this system, and we're told to, and we're taught for the reasons why, or we're told the reasons why, while they're screwing us over. And it's, what I mean? It's like, and who said this the best was that comedian. What was it, from the George Carlin? Right?
He said
it the best. He said, this is while they, I'm not going to use his same language, but while they got you singing the Star Spangled Banner while they're doing things to you from behind, In his language, it was much more.
You're pulling your socks when nobody's looking. Yes.
I'm a student of history. I love history. I love Jefferson's visions, Madison. I'm a big John Adams fan. Benjamin Franklin. I like them all. There's a lot of Freemasonry stuff going on. The Masons, but I thought in terms of history and what was going to be established. Now, you go real deep down the rabbit hole, and people say, well, yeah, they were Freemasons. And with their own agenda, and things were designed a certain way, but not to go into those details. I was a student of history, military history. I loved reading about the Revolutionary War. I read everything you possibly could about all the world wars, and the Civil War was my favorite, just because it was such a fascinating to, that how two brothers living in the same house could, with two totally different ideals for what they believe.
Different teams. Yeah.
I saw that. And the thing that never escaped me was, okay, we have the South. The South had every right to secede and form their own government. They were nonviolent about it. They just seceded and wanted to do their own thing. It just has nothing to do with slavery. I'm not like pro whatever this. Everything's been so tilted. But I always ask myself, why did Lincoln invade the South? Why did he form an army and invaded them? There was always the pretense of, oh, slavery, this and that, but we learn when you dig into it that that was actually just an excuse that came about later on, that it was about slavery. And I know for Lincoln it was about keeping the Union together, but for the people in the South, everything that I had read, to them, they were following the ideals of the founders. If you feel that there's a tyranny, it's in the Declaration of Independence. It is our duty to throw off the government. It's written into our founding documents that it is our duty. It is our right. It's required of us to, when the government becomes a tyranny, to throw it off. And for them, that was that tyranny, and they seceded. But then they were invaded by what at that time was a foreign army, which was, also Americans as well. But that always bugged me about the Civil War, because on idealistic grounds, and I know not everything is idealism, there's reality and there's this and that, and it all will always boil down to commerce and money. Just the fact that those same beliefs that our country was supposedly founded on were attempting to be carried forward by the secession of the southern states for whatever the reasons they had justified, were abolished and destroyed by a strong central government that had raised an invasion army and brought the South to bear. And I was a big fan. I love General Grant. I've read so many books about General Grant. I always thought he was a very fascinating guy because he came out of nowhere, And I've read a lot about General Lee, and my wife is Joseph E. Johnston's great niece. And so I've got this just an interesting perspective on the Civil War. But those, like I say, go back to considering these founding documents and stuff like that, and freedom and all the things that we think that we have, but we really don't. And you just see that we are just a part of a technocracy, a corporate-based government for profit that doesn't give a rat's ass about the citizens or their rights, because they're slowly eradicated, and we're steamrolling into our own demise. And Lincoln, I don't have anything against Lincoln, even though I brought that up about the Civil War. He had one time famously said that if we're ever at this, if the nation's ever going to fall, it'll happen from within, and that's what's happening. But you got just have so many people so blind to it, and you have so many, and you have, and I'm glad a lot of patriotic people are waking up to these kinds of things as well, because they're seeing it for what it really is. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with patriotism, but a lot of times people get blinded by it, and then they start supporting the same tyranny. That's, look at England. There's a song. What would they sing? God save the king, or God save the queen.
The queen,
right? Yeah, like.
Yeah. Well, doesn't it sound like a song we sing all the time?
Yeah.
You know what? We're kind of running over here a little bit. Let Doctor. I know he. I mean, I can feel it. I mean, I'm not touching it, but I can feel it. Right.
I love listening to you guys, and I wish this was a 3-hour show. But hey, we've had a whole year of suffering, and people are finally starting to awaken. And I guess my encouragement to them is to listen to anything that Bob Charles puts out. Listen to our YouTube show, and and people like Alex Jones and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., greenmedinfo.com, Joe Mercola. Get real information, because these guys research, and they'll really go through PubMed.org and find relevant studies, peer-reviewed, and they'll curate them for accurate information. And you're not going to get that from NBC, CBS, ABC, CNN, and all the big major news outlets, because all of them, okay, are pharmaceutically run. Meaning that, just like what Bob was saying, is that they get all these billions of dollars in endorsements, advertising, if you push their drugs on TV, but you don't say any bad things. Okay, but let us use this suffering for good. And I know that Tim Nolan's listening in here. He hasn't come in, but we're ending the show. But he's the Minnesota contact. But he, like you, Patrick, and you, Bob, he's a journalist, and he's a researcher, and he tells truth. And like I said, there's two sides to a narrative, right? And the one that we all tell here is truth. And I think that the people are getting tired of being poor, tired of not knowing, tired of being helpless. I think it's time that they all start fighting back. And this comes from Patrick Wood, and he runs the Technocracy News, and from John Whitehead, the constitutional lawyer. And both of them say, stand up and fight before you have no freedom left.
Right, exactly. Now, did you say Tim before?
Yeah, Tim Nolan. He's listening in.
I think he's Tim, are you there?
Yes, I am, Bob.
Oh, hey Tim.
Who's there?
Yeah. I could just say ditto what's been said so far, but if people want for a starting point, know your history, follow the money, start connecting the dots. But it's just if people want to start out about big pharma, there's a link to my one site, newsboy407.blogspot.com. That's a good starting point for folks that want to get little smidgens of what's been going on. But this is the new 9/11. They have plans, like I've already heard echoed what's already been said. This has been planned. It's a pandemic. And Judith Malovitch does a beautiful job in how Fauci ran her through the buckwheat. It's really sad. But we, the people, is a real true power. We got to take back. We can, we will, we must take back our country.
And you know what, Tim, what you're saying there is like so true. The thing is that if you don't watch Newsmax or one of those stations like Newsmax, you're not going to hear it said anywhere. On our blogs, and I'm sure you put it on your blog too, because I put it on mine all the time. I always put on "We the People," and then I say what I'm saying.
Yep.
Because everything that I write in there is for we the people. We are the people. We are the ones that pay their salaries. We are the ones that were either foolishly or not knowing or buying the lies that you see on TV so much that you got out of somebody's mouth. You voted them in. But you can do something about it. You can vote them out.
Yeah.
And that's where
I heard too, that George Carlin was a prophet to give us the election, to give us the illusion that we have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
They had this thing is all the public execution of Kennedy kept us in war. 9/11 got us in global war, and then David Rockefeller put out the hit for Kennedy.
Yep.
50 years to the day, the starting of the Federal Reserve. How convenient was that?
Yeah, that was very convenient for sure. Yep, absolutely. And so many other things that relate to what Tim is talking about. I mean, it's ridiculous. All of these things that all, if you know the history, and like he said, follow the dots, and I've said that on the show too many times. If you follow those dots, you'll see that everything that you're watching and listening to and trying to believe or not believing, however it happens to be, isn't correct at all. It's a different story. You were told the wrong story. And what's going on right now? Look at this stuff with Dominion. Dominion was originally designed to do what it does in South America countries to hire dictators. And the CIA was the one that did it. Now, how much more American pie do you want out of that one? We invented the idea. We made it happen. They perfected it out of this country. All they did was they just turned it around and used it on us. And we complain about people that are cyber invasions and everything else. Hey, I can invade anybody I want to from anywhere if I have the internet. So you think they would tighten up the internet Instead of that, they're given $7 billion to expand access to high-speed internet connections, $300 million for building out the infrastructure in underserved rural areas. In other words, and the doctor, you'll agree with me, it's 5G. That's what they're building out.
Yeah.
$1 billion in grants for tribal broadband programs. What's the tribes going to do? They're going to go on dark web? I mean, no, seriously, and buy better feathers. I mean, I'm serious. The more and more I hear about this stuff and what the country is doing against itself, it just makes me that much more mad that I want to get out there and talk more to more people. Tim's going to take you with me because you know what you're talking about too.
Yep. No, everyone here. I wish this show was 3 hours long, but but please go to the Bob Charles blog and the Patrick Herbert blog and the Tim Nolan blog and really know your history, because you're stuck in it, and then a lot of times you don't know what's actual truth, and all these guys put that out there. And you go listen to John Rappaport, John Whitehead, because what they're saying, and they come from different backgrounds, and John Whitehead's a constitutional attorney. They both say civil disobedience, fight for your rights before it's totally gone, and as simple as that. And so let's turn this suffering, everyone, into prosperity. But you got to dig your heels in. You have to maybe intuit, I suppose, to find out what feels right to you. But this year of suffering is telling you that if you continue down this road, people are going to get sick. People are truly going to die from being locked down. And look at your freedom. You've agreed to being a slave. Well, I don't agree. I want to be free, and I want all of us to do so. But we're not going to just do that sitting at home, just kind of nodding our heads. Oh, the virus is going to get me. You're talking about a protein sack that is technically not living. So no, it's not. Okay, it's a trick. It's a ruse, and you're in position right now to be free, but only if you want it. But you got to fight for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? We got to come back. We got to do this again. So Doc, plan one of those things. Tim, for you, okay. Next time you want to come in, you can come in with the link that I gave you.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll send you another one that you can come right into Skype. You don't need Skype. You don't have to have Skype on your computer. You just use the link. Bang, you're there.
Okay. Okay. Good. Yeah, it was a deal we do on about the Citizens for Free Speech.
Yep. That's exactly what we're doing here. And let's see. Doc, give me some information out of how they can get in touch with you first.
Oh, yeah. My website, drrandallgeorge.com, or email me. And Bob gave you my email previously, mirabelle.nozawa@gmail.com. And Mirabelle is mirabelle.nozawa@gmail.com. Would love to hear from you. And everyone, let's unite. Let's grow. And let's fight together. Because we're 99%, and that's a lot greater than 1%. Let's fight for it.
Yeah, we can do that. Patrick,
yeah,
with you.
Just Patrick
looking out the window, going, "Yay, babe, Pat, how you doing, man?"
Just right out there. Yeah, no.
Patrick.
PatrickHerbert.org, or just email me at patjherbert@gmail.com.
Hey, Tim, how can they get in touch with you?
Tim Nolan 7@gmail.com.
Well, there you go. See, now, if anybody has any questions about anything that we've talked about tonight, we got 3 people on here that are masters at this. So give them a call, give them a write or something like that. You can listen to this show tomorrow on YouTube. Tonight, these guys get a copy when we finish the show. So how about that? Ooh. All right, Tim, thank you very much for being here, and we will see you again on another show. I will keep in touch.
Great, Bob. Happy 2021 is going to be a winner. We, the people, will take power.
That's right. Well, but you know what? If we don't, our big mouths will. That's for sure.
Really,
that's okay.
They can put on my grave he finally gave up.
Nobody gives up. Not here.
That's never going to happen, Tim.
No.
Not for you.
When the going gets tough, the tough get going. The Irish, there's a reason why they call us the Fighting Irish. Timothy Michael Nolan.
Yep.
There you go.
Got it.
All right,
Michael's
Tim.
been my archangel.
Night, night, man.
Take care.
Now to everybody here, don't forget, this is Pyramid One Radio Network. It's all over the world. All you have to do is just pick it up. We're on TuneIn. We're on Speakeasy. We're on all of them, you know? So just pick us up and listen to us. Tomorrow on YouTube, just put in Pyramid One Radio, and you will go right to our channel. You can listen to the show there and a whole bunch of other shows that Dr. Randall, should I say, Nozawa, has done with me on this network. I'm thinking about somebody else named Ronald. I don't know why. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, God bless y'all. Bob Charles. Okay, we are definitely legal.
Okay to talk?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, cool. My daughter's like banging on the door. She wants to get at me. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. I hope I didn't started to get a little carried away.
No, thanks, Patrick. I know on these kind of shows, I wish that this was like a 3-hour long one because Bob's got a lot to say. So do you, and like Tim, like you, is just a researcher, and I learn a lot from you guys, and a lot of stuff people just don't know and are unwilling. A lot of them.
It amazes me.
Just because of the brainwashing, it's sad.
It amazes me when I'm on the blogs in the morning, and so many people are saying so many incorrect things. I mean, incorrect, so stupid that I just want to like jump into the screen and like smack somebody in the head. I mean, they don't know. And when I write to them and say this, I'll even go and I'll do the research. I can do it in a couple of seconds. Go do the research, get the link, put the link on the thing and say, go here, read this, and then come back and tell me what you're telling me, what you just told me before, with some conviction. Their answer, why should I read it?
Oh, good grief.
That's what they do. They like their echo chambers. They like the reinforcements. I think it's an ego thing, isn't it, Dr. Randall?
Oh, no,